We have to discuss the main event of the night. We know why you all are here. Crawford versus Madrimov happened. Madrimov was a 10-0 champion at 154 pounds, who looked to be, in my opinion, one of Crawford's toughest tests, just because of the weight difference, but also because of the sheer athletic ability that Madrimov has. And if you didn't know Madrimov, brother, you know him now. Sister, you know him now, because this man belonged in the ring with Crawford. And as we break down the fight for what happened in this entire chess match of a war, we saw Madrimov give Crawford trouble due to his consistent bouncing and moving. The head feints, the body feints, the constant up and down motion, the constant dipping. Everything was unpredictable when it came to Madrimov. Crawford could not read or time what Madrimov was going to do. And he didn't want to be susceptible to the strength and power of that right hand that is also incredibly fast. And Crawford had to really work to get out this win. Crawford was able to land straights to the body, land shots to the body as a whole, and was able to start breaking down Madrimov as the fight went on. But it took incredibly long. And it wasn't until later on in the fight that we saw the total upset breakdown really take effect. Because once Madrimov stopped bouncing, that's when we saw the biggest success from Terence Crawford and the ability to finally pull away from this hotly contested affair. Crawford, as the fight was going, could not just open up and go for broke. Nor was his normal tactics of taking away and ripping away the attributes that you normally use at your best, making them obsolete. That wasn't working either because of the unpredictability. So with Crawford not being able to time the jab from being more defensive and more so trying to catch and lull Madrimov into coming in, now we saw Crawford at the round 6 stand his ground. Change up and adapt. Go and start moving forward. Go instead of backpedaling slightly into just full stop, taking control of the center of the ring, taking only small steps back in order to not get in too much danger, but constantly closing the distance ever slowly. And then opening up with harder shots. Finally, with the body attack that was going on with Crawford throughout the entirety of the fight. Again, it wasn't copious, but it was still relevant, and it was still doing work. We then saw Madrimov stop bouncing. We then saw Madrimov stop constantly feinting. And then we got to see the offensive flow that we've known Crawford for, the pinpoint accuracy that we've known Crawford for, the outright destructive nature, or the more unstoppable offensive array that we know Crawford has at his disposal. Now we got to see that actually show at the end of the fight and caused him to become the new WBO Super Welterweight Champion, reaching the 4-belt, becoming a champion in 4 divisions, which is something that only a few boxers have ever done in their career. But now with all of this done, what does this mean for Canelo? Can he actually beat Canelo? Should he even fight Canelo? Well, that brings us to our next topic. As when it comes to Crawford versus Canelo, that fight isn't going to happen at all. Per Turkish Al Sheikh has now said that he's no longer pursuing that fight with Crawford versus Canelo. So now this fight isn't going to happen. But if it did, could we see still Crawford winning? For me, is Crawford a better fighter than Canelo Alvarez? Yes, he is. Can he beat Canelo? No, he can't. At least not right now. And the reason being is because what we see as Crawford moves up in weight, the speed at the elite level when it comes to the weight classes. The speed is the same. Crawford's speed, other people, Madrimov had that level of speed. Canelo can have that level of punch speed. Yes, he does. It's not too far off between the two. But physically, they have Crawford beat. Now, when one of your biggest attributes that could have gotten you a big upper hand now is on the same level as other people who are also of or bigger than you in terms of physical attributes, gives me a very tough time to say that you can beat Canelo. Not because you're not a better fighter. Yes, you are. But it's because of the style of fight that it's going to be. We know how Canelo's going to fight. It's going to be attacking the body, raking the midsection all night long. The body snatcher is what Canelo's going to be. The bullet is a well-renowned hook artist when it comes to breaking down the body. He will be able to take your stamina, take your soul when it comes to draining you. He can absolutely do it. He's done it countless times. The power is also there. The IQ is there. It's not better than Crawford, but it is there. You can say what you want about Canelo. Canelo is a smart fighter. Canelo is an IQ-driven fighter, even though his style may seem rudimentary. And that's where the biggest thing comes when it comes to Canelo versus Crawford. With what we saw with this fight with Terence, this was an incredibly tough match. This was a major struggle. This was a very awkward style that was hard for Crawford to figure out and adapt to. But he still adapted to it. Don't get me wrong. He still adapted to it. That didn't change. But the length of time that it did, if we saw Madrimov become more aggressive, maybe this could have gone in a different direction. Crawford still won it more handedly, but a lot of those rounds were still close affairs. With Canelo, his style of boxing, as opposed to Madrimov's style of boxing, are two completely different things. Canelo is a lot easier to fight against in terms of stylistically. There's not as much unpredictability. It's not as much movement. There's not as much feints that you have to worry about that you know is coming your way. There's a lot of IQ. That's not going anywhere. That's absolute. But in terms of what you see, it's not as much that you have to download, process, and be wary of. Something may come from anywhere. It's not like that with Canelo. It's not. Canelo's style is easier to fight against than Madrimov. Yes, it is. He's more of a one-shot heavy puncher, loading up on everything, more so looking for power shots rather than not as much setup as we've seen him do in the past in his boxing career. Not saying it's bad. No, he is a better boxer than he was before. But what he does now is a lot more simplified. That is just a fact of the matter. We can visually see that. That's not me trying to hate on him. That's not me trying to be critical of him. No, that's just what he is. We've seen it. We've talked about this before. He is a brother who throws heavy shots continuously, all the time. He loads up. It's one of the biggest things that makes him so fun to watch. That's why everybody loves him. But at the flip side, like we saw with Bivol, it can be a thing that can be a detriment if you know how to beat it. And with Crawford, he's got the ability to beat it. Let's not get that twisted in any way. Crawford has the ability, the know-how, the knowledge and IQ to be able to beat Canelo. But with Canelo's style, while it may be a lot more simpler than Madrimov, it is the impact of when he does commit to said style and it is successful that we are all very much afraid of. Because more than ever, we saw Crawford, even though, yes, we've seen him knocked down before. Yes, we have. These were some of the heaviest punches that we've seen him take. Now, he showed incredible chin. That's no question about it. This brother showed a great chin with some of the shots he was eating from Madrimov and still be able to walk through like it's nothing. Hey, testament to how great Crawford truly is. Now you compare that going from 154 to 168, and that same right hand from Canelo lands on you that landed from Madrimov. We could be looking at like a really more dire situation. A very scary situation, for being completely honest, for anybody who's a supporter of Crawford or just a fan of boxing in general. That could be it. What we saw with Amir Khan could be what we see against Crawford. Not because his chin isn't durable, but because with the frequency that we saw Madrimov's right hand land, and with Canelo being a higher IQ, though an easier style to fight, we know that Canelo is as much of a counterpuncher as we know Crawford can be with his infinite ability to adapt to any style. So with that being the case, we see Canelo counter Crawford with the right hand of his own. That could spell some real trouble. And it's not trouble that I can't say for certain that Crawford will be able to overcome strictly because of the size difference. It's not a knock on Crawford. I'm not trying to overhype anybody. I'm saying what's realistic. What we saw versus Madrimov did not give me confidence to say, oh yeah, he can make his way up to 168 and be able to be just as, if not better, than we've ever seen him before when he faces off against Canelo, if that fight ever happened. No, I can't say that. I can't see that at all. The reality of the situation, Crawford struggled against Madrimov. This did not give us confidence to say that Crawford can beat Canelo. With that being said, Crawford versus Madrimov is a completely different fight than Crawford versus Canelo. Madrimov is a harder Rubik's Cube to figure out than Canelo. But Canelo is a more destructive Rubik's Cube if you mess up. So with all that being the case, it is tough for me to say that Crawford can go up to 168 and beat Terence and then beat Canelo in outright fashion. I can't say that. I would have to favor Canelo. On top of what we saw with another 154-pounder in Jamal Charlo, one of the Charlo brothers who moved up from 154 to 168 to fight Canelo, and they got gun-shy strictly due to the power that Canelo was bringing forth and the speed that they didn't expect Canelo to have when they moved up in divisions. This is a story that we've seen before. While the main character in Terence Crawford is completely different, is completely better, Charlo doesn't belong in the realm, in the same sentence, nor the same state as Terence Crawford when it comes to boxing ability. Terence Crawford would eat him alive if they ever fought against each other. And it could have been that he fought Crawford for the title if he wasn't out the ring for however many years, for whatever the reason may be, and got stripped of his title. But if they ever fought, Crawford would destroy Charlo and knock him out quicker and in more dominant fashion than what we saw with Canelo when he beat him. It wouldn't go 12 with Crawford. It would be over if Crawford fought Charlo. But when it comes to Crawford versus Canelo, that's a new beast entirely. That while his abilities can beat Canelo, it's the body that I don't know can beat him. It's just the struggle of facing somebody with that size that is a more elevated level of danger is incredibly hard for me to say you can beat with how much you struggled against Madrimov. Though context says Madrimov was different from Canelo in every which way. Canelo is easier to figure out, but there's an argument that he is a whole lot harder to beat. Not because of the unpredictability, unlike with Madrimov, but because of the danger that he brings to the table. The danger comes from anywhere when it comes with Canelo. The offense comes from anywhere when it comes to Madrimov. There's two different things. Danger versus just offense. Hey, something can hit me. That's different from something can kill me. Do you see the difference in weight? Do you get the difference in severity? Madrimov, something can hit me from any given area. I gotta be mindful. I gotta be watchful. I don't want to get caught with something that I don't see that can hit me. That's different than I don't want to get caught with something that I don't see that can kill me. The elevated level of danger when it comes to Canelo is something a lot more vital, or rather a lot more visceral than what we saw with Madrimov. I don't know if Crawford can beat it. Not because he's not good enough, but because of the weight discrepancy and the IQ of Canelo. While again, it's not Crawford. Crawford's a better fighter. But at that weight, it seems like it's going to be a lot more of a struggle. And this fight did not give me confidence. It didn't. Didn't give me confidence to say that Crawford can beat Canelo. And it's good, in my opinion, that Crawford's not facing Canelo. And I'm glad Turkey's moving on to a different fight. Because if anything, the only way that I could have any semblance of confidence to say that Canelo can't beat Crawford would be if we saw Crawford fight again at 154, defend his belt, dominate, and then move up to 160 and fight somebody and still be successful. That's the only way. Because that jump from 154 to 168 is insane. It's crazy. It's incredibly stupid for the logical man. But that's what greats do. They don't fight by logic. They fight by legacy. And if he can accomplish it, hey, that's great. If he doesn't, well, you tested your limit. It's too big for you. Now go back down where we know you are at your best. It's not bad to try to reach for the stars. If you fail, you land on the moon. Hey, and then you can jump again. It's all right. But the premise is still insane. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. This is a high-profile fight. Don't get me wrong. It's an incredibly lucrative affair. I read some report, and again, fact check me, please. But some report that Turkey was asking or offering over $100 million to Canelo for that fight. Again, fact check me, please. But this is the level of lucrative stakes that fight could be. But from a fighting perspective, there's a lot that can go wrong that tells me that this fight should not be made. Not yet, anyway. It's not yet. Not yet. Crawford's got to show me. It's crazy for me to say this, but Crawford's got to show me something. Just tell me he can beat Canelo. Prove to me that you can beat Canelo by putting in the requisite work and going and making performances on a consistent basis that give me confidence. Because right now, this performance, it still showed your greatness. Yes, it did. But it didn't give me no confidence. And I don't have confidence that you can beat Canelo. I don't. Really don't. Despite everything that you showed, don't think you can beat Canelo. You shouldn't get in that ring with him. If you can't call out Charlo, you talked about you were going to fight him, go fight him. I would rather see Errol Spence versus Crawford at 154. Get that rematch going. Instead, now that you're officially there, instead of you going and fight Canelo. We're talking about from a fight perspective. I would rather see that. Because right now, I'm confident you can beat them. Not confident you can beat Canelo.